there's a couple of Canadian kids hanging out at Innings Fest here.
Yeah.
Joined with Ryan Dempster, World Series champion, the host here at Innings Fest. How's it going so far this weekend?
It's great, man. Really, this festival is it's so much fun. It's nothing but good quality people together. I kind of really have gotten that vibe over these 8 years of just being a part of something really special. A ton of great connections, incredible music. I mean, you've been around here, walk around, the vibe is awesome. The weather's great. So any chance to get out of the up north and come down here and enjoy some sunshine, baseball, music, it doesn't get any better.
Absolutely. So we saw your interview yesterday with OK Go, which was awesome. And you guys played a song for Damien, the lead singer, as he was walking up. And he noticed it right away. So maybe talk a bit about that and the prep that goes into the interviews that you do with the artists here. And who's on stage with you? I know you have a band on stage with you, right?
Yeah, so I have the Hemispheres. And that's our band that's been with us this whole time doing this show for the last... we've been doing it for quite a while. Pat Muldoon, our guitar player, he does a lot of research on guys, and we both do, but he'll try and find how somebody fell in love with music. We did that with Stephen Jenkins from Third Eye Blind a couple years ago, where he fell, the Jackson 5, I Want You Back is what made him fall in love with music. And we played it, he did the same sort of thing. He turned around, he's like, you guys are doing your homework. And we pride ourselves on that. We're not flying by the hip up there. I mean, we do, but we do a lot of prep into this and have a lot of respect for the artists and what they do, and maybe try to find something maybe they haven't shared before, bring out something and show the human side of them, because when they're up on that stage, it's like, holy cow, man, like that's this bigger than life artist that we watch or we listen to in the car. And so when people can see that they're human like us, it becomes more relatable. It makes us, I think, appreciate them even more. That's what we try to do with the players too. And we got much more this weekend planned, so it's really fun.
I know one thing that we appreciate as fans of baseball and music is that magic. And you guys talked about that yesterday in the OK Go interview. He talked about that magic that you can reach in music. You talked about the magic that you can reach on the baseball field. I'm wondering if you ever feel that kind of magic in your new role as a broadcaster, as a host and an interviewer.
Yeah, I do, and it's been unique. Like, years back we had Roger Clemens on the show. My uncle was in the crowd. My uncle comes up to me after the show, and we're really close. He goes, I never liked Roger Clemens, but after that interview, I'm a Roger Clemens fan. And that's what I'm going for, because sometimes we get lost in what we see in the paper or on the radio or on television, and we forget that they are humans. And and the connection of music and baseball together and what this show can provide, and kind of crossing the both of them together. If you think about it, you go to a baseball game, it'd be pretty boring if there was no music.
Absolutely.
Be kind of quiet. Even way back when, like you go back to the 40s with the organ and through the 50s, and then you had like all of a sudden now in the 70s you have speaker systems through the stadiums and everybody's playing music, and then now you have walk-up songs that people like identify. Like if you were in Atlanta in like the 90s and the 2000s and you heard Crazy Train, you'd put your beer order on hold, you'd run from the bathroom because Chipper Jones was going to hit, or Hell's Bells with Trevor Hoffman, and there's this relatability. And the way they kind of need each other a little bit at the stadium is really cool. And it could be driving through a minor league park, and if you hear Center Field by Fogerty, you know a game's getting ready to start.
Yeah, that was awesome. Last year, the Killers opened up with Fogerty.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
So good, man. That was an amazing show. The Killers did kill it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and doing this new gig, I think just seeing people and having people come up after shows and say, man, I really appreciate it, or thank you so much for that show. You're providing a memory, that people will hopefully have forever, that they were here with a significant other, a sibling, a friend, right? And they got to take in two of their big loves, music and baseball, and we're so happy to do it.
Absolutely. So I know you guys talked about the community. You spoke about your World Series victory with the Red Sox in 2013 and what that meant to the fans and what that meant to Boston. And I think the guys from there, they were Boston fans, so they were really into that too. We're here at Innings Festival, Tempe, Arizona. What does events like this, what does Innings Festival mean to Tempe, and what do these music festivals mean to the communities that they're hosted in?
Yeah, I think they're, we're seeing so many more of them. I think, it just feels like there's a new festival in some new town all the time. I think they're a great opportunity. Tickets get pretty pricey these days. Go to a Taylor Swift concert, you got to mortgage your house to go. So to be able to come to a festival where you can, pay a price for a ticket, albeit not the cheapest, but you get to see how many bands?
Yeah.
Like to be able to come last night and sit there and see Miles Smith and Marcus Mumford and the Goo Goo Dolls and go down the list, OK Go, and all these bands, Marcy's Playground, and what an experience. And then also to meet some MLB legends and come take in a different form of entertainment. And, a lot of times when we come down to spring training as fans, we get a baseball game, and then that's it.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, what do we do now? What do we find for entertainment besides going to eat and drinking at the bar? Instead, you get to be around a bunch of like-minded people who are here for the same reason, to take in great music first and foremost, and then to have a little bit of fun with baseball. I mean, you can live your youth out again by hitting in the batting cage or throwing, speed pitch and seeing if you still got it. And I just think it's been really great. Like my friend Evan, who just walked in, Vancouver, a Burnaby firefighter, and he was talking about how he met a guy here a couple years ago who looked like a guy back home. He's a Tempe firefighter, right?
Right.
So my brother and him asked to take a picture with this guy. You look just like a firefighter back home. They take a picture to show the guy. So this year he's in Colorado, and he's sitting at this huge fireman event for fallen firefighters, and he sees this guy across the 1,000 firefighters in this room. He's like, I know that guy. And he goes over there, he goes, hey, are you a Tempe firefighter? He goes, are you the guy who asked me to take? Next thing you know, they're buddy. That's what we're doing. We're not just harvesting friendships already made. We're creating new ones and new connections, and I just think it's so special. There's nowhere like this that has this, especially this time of year when everybody's searching for the sun, and baseball and that spring anew is just really cool.
Absolutely. So, building relationships with your career, when you kind of knew, or when you started thinking about getting into broadcasting, getting into doing this post-playing career, when did that kind of first become a reality for you?
He's going to say high school. I used to sit around at parties and tell jokes for an hour or two. I think I was always a little bit of an entertainer. I liked slapstick comedy, I loved the Chevy Chase fall on Saturday Night Live. Chris Farley was one of my favorite, but I just appreciate humor. My dad took me to my first comedy club, Yuck Yucks, when I was 18 years old, and I just have always kind of loved it. And then after baseball, got into doing some stuff with the network, but at the same time, I was doing stand-up comedy in Chicago. I was doing improv classes at I.O., and I just kind of really liked it. And then in 2015, we had this idea of kind of having a talk show with athletes, Back in the day, with Carson and Leno and Letterman and all these guys, the occasional athlete was famous.
Right.
I just feel like through media and social media and people building brands, athletes are a little bit more recognizable and famous than they were, before. If you weren't the star of the league, nobody really knew who you were. You could, and it's not the case anymore. And so we wanted to kind of be able to show that off to people. And really, we ask baseball questions, and we will. But there's a lot of life questions, because I think, to me, that's the more important part. How many times I got booed off the field or yelled at to move back to Canada because I had a bad game or I blew a save. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm a dad, and I'm just a guy, and so I think it's really important to me. I think that's probably the number one factor, is that we're having fun, that we're sharing a love of the same thing, baseball and music, and that we're humanizing guys and taking them off this pedestal of people. We can put them on a pedestal for what they do. Let's just appreciate them a little bit for who they are.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, so you were probably in this position a lot in your playing career, on the other side of the microphone. I'm wondering if there's anything that really stuck with you, good or bad, that you try to carry forward when you're doing your role with Off The Mound and here at Innings Festival.
Yeah, I think the number one thing is I intentionally really focus on trying to listen. Because I can have those questions, as and you're like, okay, but what if it changes? What if it moves? What if the conversation shift is? If I'm not engaged and I'm not present and I'm not listening to that answer or that conversation, then I might just move on to the next question, and maybe there's a nugget in there. Wait, hold on, let's go on that and let's find out about that. I had no idea that Adam Ray, was in musical theater and wrote the Goo Goo Dolls' Iris. Apparently last night he did that. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think it is. Knowing him, he makes up a lot of stuff, but no, it's just really, to me, that's what I consciously try to do every show. And I want to try and engage with fans that are out there and make people feel welcome and special. And we're really just, and also too, I think I realized, because I failed a lot as a player, and then you watch, you deal with media, is that we're going to mess up. Every show's not going to be perfect. Every show's not going to be the greatest. Last night we had a great show. There was hundreds of people out here in front of the stage. There might be 20. I don't know. But I'm going to treat those 20 people like I would 1,000 people standing here.
Right. I think that's a good approach with anything, that no matter what your profession is, you treat everybody like it's the they're the A-list celebrity, or they're the most important person.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Right. So before we wrap up here, Ryan, I know you got lots of places to go, people to see, and interviews to do, but a little bit of a tangent question. So I want to ask you a little bit about Innings alumni.
Yeah.
Being a massive Pearl Jam fan myself,
yeah.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your relationship and your friendship with Eddie Vedder. And I know you interviewed him here at Innings Fest in the past.
Yeah, a couple times we've had him on, which has been special. Obviously Ed being such a big Cubs fan, that's kind of how our relationship started. That's not kind of how, that is how it started. And then just over the years, when you have relationships with people and you see enough and you connect, and his love of the game of baseball, my love of music, his ability to look past my goofiness and silliness, we just kind of formed a really great friendship, and it's been over 20 years now. And so, for him to take the time before a show, the first year he came out and he told some, great Sean Casey story about somebody with a fat head over in Italy, chanting Sean Casey come out, and all this kind of stuff. And then he brought us up on stage to do Hard Sun with them, a bunch of guys. And then the last time he was here a couple years ago, and with Randy Johnson, and kind of bringing back the two of those guys, the Pacific Northwest, and even further back that, him telling the story of Randy beating a guy up with a payphone at the Temple of the Dog concert was like, and Randy freaking out, and him saying, "No, don't worry, statute of limitations is passed." It's humbling for me. I grew up in the 90s, right? And that's like Pearl Jam was my go-to. I love the 10 album, was probably my favorite album I've ever listened to. And so when all of a sudden now you're friends and you develop a relationship and a friendship with somebody like that, at first it's challenging because you don't understand why, but then afterwards you just realize what a great human being is. And I think that's the consensus when you talk to people who have interactions with them. I've learned a lot from that, is an appreciation of, one time we were hanging out and he said, "Listen, we have nothing without fans. We're just a bunch of dudes up there with instruments making music, and if not for our fans, so I have to appreciate them and care for them and treat them like they're special, because they are. And it's the same way for baseball. Sometimes it can be, repetitive. We play every day, but if you just step back to remember, hey man, like none of this goes on without the people here. Zero of it. The show isn't about me. It's not even about my guests. It's about providing something for the people who are showing up. And he has the most unbelievable way of doing that. He's done so many special things for people that people don't even know about, that are just absolutely remarkable. And he's got a heart of gold, and just one of the kindest humans I've ever been around.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Ryan. And I hope you get to build connections like that again today here at Innings Festival. You're doing lots of interviews, and we really appreciate you taking the time to take an interview with a fellow Canadian. And we hope you have a great day, man, and good best of luck with everything.
Absolutely. Thank you.